Alain Prost's battle with Ayrton Senna at the 1988 Hungarian Grand Prix was one for the ages. Prost looked to have taken the lead, but Senna reacted quickly and decisively to cut back under the Frenchman, whose tyres were now dirty and causing an intense vibration as he slipped back, waiting for them to clear up.
Tremendous stuff between the two McLaren drivers. And if anybody can say they don't race each other, that should shut them up forever.
By the time he had it back under control, his time had run out.
Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost almost tied together as they come now to the final corner. This is the final corner of the race. Here they come, and Ayrton Senna takes the checkered flag. The gap between them, 0.529 of a second.
Two world champions going head-to-head in the wet is the ultimate spectacle of driving talent. And the 2006 title rivals were engaged in an enthralling battle at the Hungaroring.
Alonso right on the tail of Michael Schumacher. Schumacher gets racy, you can see the steering wheel action. He wants to try and keep him off. There's been real niggle has got into the relationship between these two. Such similar drivers on a similar level.
Schumacher bravely defended from Fernando Alonso, both drivers using every inch of the circuit looking for grip, with the Spaniard's Michelin tyres quicker in the conditions than Schumacher's Bridgestones.
Alonso's clearly faster. He's going to try and force his way through up the inside of Schumacher, who cuts across him, but he will have another chance. Great racing here at the Hungaroring.
Taking the karting line around the outside, Alonso found the traction he needed to close in on the Ferrari.
Alonso's going round the outside of him. This is the first time these two have taken each other on all season on the racetrack. Alonso's through.
But for all their hard driving, the race would end poorly for both drivers.
He's off! Fernando Alonso is off! The World Championship leader has stopped!
Alonso suffered a drive shaft failure, smashing into the tyre barriers, while Schumacher ended his race after an incident with Nick Heidfeld.
He's got trouble turning into the corners. Yes, as he's off, this is going to be it.
Schumacher can't even get into the pit lane here with just 3 laps to go in this race as Schumacher too retires from this Grand Prix.
Fernando Alonso arrived at the 2003 Hungarian Grand Prix as Formula One's youngest ever pole sitter and podium finisher, but he wasn't finished there. Starting from the front of the grid, the 22-year-old charged into the lead. Kimi Räikkönen tried his hardest to keep up, but the Spaniard stretched the legs of his Renault, showing just how dominant he was by lapping the great Michael Schumacher with 10 laps to go. Crossing the line, the Spaniard rewrote the history books to become Formula One's youngest ever race winner, a record which had stood since the 1950s.
The victory for me is a dream come true. And I'm 22 years old and I have my first victory in the pocket. So I hope a long career here in Formula One with more victories.
McLaren took their 8th 1-2 of the season in qualifying for the 1998 Hungarian Grand Prix, and it seemed that nothing could get in the way of their taking the top 2 steps on the podium. Mika Häkkinen was leading the championship by 16 points, with Michael Schumacher his only realistic challenger. And if the German were to have any hopes of staying in the title battle, he had to finish ahead of the Finn. Häkkinen duly raced off into the distance, but a strategic masterstroke from Ferrari and some incredible driving from Schumacher changed the face of the race.
Catching traffic, I want him in this lap.
Switching the German to a 3-stop strategy freed him to post a series of fastest laps, enabling him to undercut the McLarens and steal P1.
Mika Häkkinen sprints out. Now where is Schumacher? Where is Schumacher? There he is. There he is.
Take the lead.
Fantastic. He leads. Wow.
The German luckily catching his Ferrari after this heart-stopping moment. Undeterred, he resumed his blistering pace and pulled out a 27-second advantage, which allowed him to pit for a third and final time and retain the lead. And Häkkinen's misery was compounded when a shock absorber malfunction dropped him to 6th place in the closing stages. To add insult to injury, Schumacher lapped him with his title hopes reignited.
We have seen a magnificent Hungarian Grand Prix, which is won by Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari to the ecstatic delight of thousands of Germans who are here.
You
dream about the ideal result, and that was one of the dreams I had, but the maximum I was thinking to achieve was being first and make a second.
Qualifying for the 2007 Hungarian Grand Prix was the moment Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton's relationship as McLaren teammates went into meltdown. Heading into the final part of qualifying, it was Alonso's turn to be given the fuel burn advantage, and Hamilton was given the order to let Alonso through, but he failed to let him by. With just over 2 minutes remaining in qualifying, Alonso pitted for fresh tyres and was held in the box for 20 seconds so that he could be released into clear air on track. In this time, Hamilton, who was on provisional pole, waited behind him. The lollipop lifted, but the Spaniard sat in position, and a further 10 seconds ticked by before he left to begin his final flying lap. The delay meant he'd prevented Hamilton from doing another lap himself.
Not gonna make it.
And Alonso went on to pip his teammate to pole position by just over 1/10 of a second. Alonso was stripped of his pole position while McLaren were barred from scoring any constructors' points in the race. An embarrassing moment for all involved.
We always stop, we wait for the countdown in the radio and we go. Sometimes it's 10 seconds, sometimes 45 seconds like the first stop of today, sometimes 10 or 15 like the second, but I think the calculation was wrong because my teammate didn't complete the lap and I crossed the line with 2 or 3 seconds, so it was really, really tight, and these things unfortunately happened today to us.
Reigning world champion Damon Hill was having an atrocious 1997 season, with an unreliable and uncompetitive arrows letting him down race after race. Languishing 17th in the championship by round 11, he qualified his car a surprise 3rd for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Making a fantastic start, he passed championship contender Jacques Villeneuve into the first turn, then shadowed Michael Schumacher for 10 laps, sitting under his rear wing and biding his time.
Damon Hill almost looked as though he nudged the Ferrari. Move over, you can feel him saying in the cockpit, I'm going through, and Damon Hill leads. Oh boy, Damon Hill goes into the lead of the Hungarian Grand Prix.
It was the first time an Arrows had led a Grand Prix, and Hill drove immaculately to keep the pack behind. But with just 2 laps to go, there was heartache.
He's obviously lost a lot of use of the throttle or something. Look, he's going very, very slowly. Oh no, I don't think he's going to make it.
Villeneuve's going to take the lead. Villeneuve is going to win the Hungarian Grand Prix. Oh, Damon, the whole of the world's hard look out. Villeneuve takes to the grass.
Hill dragged his stricken car across the line to finish second. But the victory, agonizingly stolen from him in the dying moments, was the closest the team would ever come to a race win. The 2014 Hungarian Grand Prix would be the standout moment of Daniel Ricciardo's breakthrough season. A chaotic race saw many drivers make mistakes in the tough and tricky conditions.
That is a major, major hit into the tyre barriers. There's the Force India of Sergio Perez careering across the track.
And when Sergio Perez's crash brought out the safety car, Red Bull made the decision to switch the Australian driver onto a 2-stop strategy. And Ricciardo made full use of his new tyres to hunt down the 2 leading drivers.
This is going to be crucial. Moves over to Duran defend and force Ricciardo the long way round once again. And it was the right move. But now Ricciardo's got the inside line.
With one world champion out of his way, Ricciardo set his sights on the Ferrari of Fernando Alonso.
And he's now looking at Fernando Alonso, and down the inside goes Daniel Ricciardo. Alonso tries to fight, but he just hasn't got the traction.
That was from a long way back as well.
That's how it's done, ladies.
He took the checkered flag to claim his second F1 victory and prove that he was the real deal.
Amazing.
Nice job.
Absolutely amazing. Sensational. You deserve that absolutely fully. Well done. Well done.
Yes! Cheers, boys. Took it. Yes! Absolutely brilliant, mate. Absolutely brilliant. That's definitely worthy of a fist bump, that one. Nice job.
One of the most spectacular passes in Formula One history took place at the very first race at the Hungaroring in 1986. An intense battle between Brazilian rivals Nelson Piquet and Ayrton Senna saw Senna leading as the pair streamed along the pit straight at top speed, wheel to wheel, in a fight for victory. Piquet flew up the inside of Senna's Lotus only to lock his wheels and slide wide, allowing Senna to retake the position. 2 laps later, Piquet tried again, and more than 200,000 fans watched on in awe as he performed an incredible 4-wheel drift. This time, Piquet was through for good and went on to win the first Hungarian Grand Prix.
Both times he came on straight line with more speed and just took me. He nearly went off at the end of the straight. He slid off. I thought he was going to lose, but then he controlled, and so he won.
And I risked sometimes to have a big accident, but I could control myself and my car, and finished the way it is.
Overtaking around the tight and twisty Hungaroring is always a big challenge, but Nigel Mansell's epic performance in 1989 showed everyone what was possible. Starting from 12th on the grid, the Ferrari driver fought his way through the field, lapping almost 2 seconds faster than anyone else, and was soon on the tail of the leading pack. As Ayrton Senna made a move on race leader Riccardo Patrese, the hard-charging Englishman took the opportunity to sneak past too. And for the next 6 laps, Senna's mirrors were filled with the sight of Mansell climbing all over the rear wing of the McLaren, waiting to pounce.
Mansell is closer now than he's ever been at this point. This is the Ferrari's opportunity, and Mansell goes through! Oh, fantastic! Nigel Mansell takes the lead!
Mansell would go on to take the checkered flag, winning by 25 seconds.
I think for me, it was a fantastic race. The first time in my career, I'll say it was an unbelievable race. Very extraordinary, but it was super.
"17 years later, but in very different conditions, another Englishman put his name on the map, with Jenson Button taking victory from a remarkable 14th on the grid. A fiery engine failure in final practice had left Button with a 10-place grid penalty. But in his Honda, he showed off his legendary wet weather prowess, quickly carving his way through the midfield. Underscoring his class, Button made a stunning move on Michael Schumacher that had the whole pit lane cheering. And on a day when other title contenders faltered, Button was flawless.
He's done it! Jenson Button wins the Hungarian Grand Prix! Get in there!
The wide-eyed Briton claimed Honda's first win as a constructor since John Surtees' victory at the 1967 Italian Grand Prix.
What a day, it's been amazing. The weather conditions have made the race very, very difficult for everyone, but coming through from 14th and winning the race, I couldn't have done it in a better way, I don't think.